Good morning. Thank you so much for joining Earsketch's Hour of Code. It is our first one. Welcome to CS Education Week. And we are excited to welcome you this morning. So this Hour of Code is Manufacturing Music, where we'll focus a little bit on how music production is related to the manufacturing process. This session is recorded, so you can come back and watch it anytime. My name is Sabrina Grossman. I am a program director at Seismic, the Center for Education Integrating Science, Math, and Computing at Georgia Tech, and along with one of the Earsketch program directors. This program, An Hour of Code, is brought to you by our center at Georgia Tech, also Earsketch, and in conjunction with CS Education Week. We will have sessions all week, so we're excited that you were able to join us for our first one. So we'll get started talking a little bit about the connections between music and manufacturing. We'll talk about the production process and how to create a song, and then we'll all have the opportunity to code together in Earsketch. If you're joining us from a class, teachers, please feel free to enter any comments in the code, or if you need to unmute as a teacher, you're welcome to ask questions through unmuting. We will be monitoring the meeting chat throughout today's session. Okay, our first kind of question is, what is music? And teachers, please feel free to pose this question to your class. What does music mean to you, and what is it? So the definition that the dictionary gives us is vocal, instrumental, or mechanical sounds put together to form rhythm, melody, or harmony. Now that's a lot of words, but essentially, music is putting together sounds to form something that sounds good to your ear, right? Or maybe it's putting together sounds to create a message, or putting together sounds to help people visualize an image. But overall, music is this idea of taking individual sounds, like individual instruments, like a drum, a vocal, a violin, a piano, and putting it all together to make a different sound, a melody, rhythm, or harmony. So does this sound a little bit also like possibly manufacturing? If we look at manufacturing, it's the process of turning raw materials into finished goods. So again, just like it's taking little parts and making them into a new product. So whether you have wood, whether you have metal, you're putting something together to create a finished good. And in this case, you're using some sort of possible machinery to help you create that finished good. So I want to challenge you to think about some other things that music and manufacturing might have in common, and why we are actually creating a whole session on music and manufacturing and having you code a song in this way. So teachers, I'd like you to take about 2 to 3 minutes with your class and engage in a think, pair, share of what do music and manufacturing have in common. Maybe your students can share back some answers, and if you would like, you can drop them in the chat. We will now take 2 to 3 minutes to let you do this activity, and then we will return to our Zoom.
Sabrina, I all of a sudden can't hear you, and your microphone is not moving. So
Okay.
I don't think it's something on my end.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I can hear you
Um,
now.
okay, Love said she also can't hear. Okay, are you able to hear now, Love?
Yes. Oh, sorry.
Okay. Okay, I don't know. I just muted on and off again. Maybe it didn't. Okay, hopefully, where did you stop hearing me? Um, Stacy, do you know what, did you stop at the previous?
So I think it was the previous slide. It took me a minute because I thought it was my fault. So I was trying to figure out. Okay, now I can't hear you again.
Are you able to hear or?
Okay, now I can hear. Yep.
Okay. I'll start like this. Tell me if you can't hear again. So, thank you so much, again, for completing the Think, Pair, Share and thinking about what do music and manufacturing have in common. And I apologize for my volume, but we did talk about the idea that raw materials, having instruments and sounds, that we can make a finished product, such as a song, something that sounds good. So maybe the individual sounds in itself don't really contribute, don't sound very good, but putting them together, you create a song that is harmonious. And just like raw materials, you might not know, the elements of copper and metals on themselves aren't doing anything, but putting them together, processing them, creates this finished product. So and just like when we're doing manufacturing and the engineering design process, manufacturing design process, we actually do the same in music. So we might not document it the same way, but essentially we wanted to create this session so you would know that while you write a song, compose a song, create a song, you actually will be going through some of the same processes you would do in science, engineering, manufacturing when you're creating a product. So often when you start a song, you're developing the idea, you're thinking of a theme. Maybe it's that you want people to dance to the song. Maybe you want to create a song that honors a certain person. You develop an idea. Same thing with manufacturing. You want a product to do a certain function, or you want to create a design. You develop the idea first. Then you might perform research. Okay, what sounds do people like to dance to? Or maybe what would be a good build up to honor this person? Or what music did this person like? How could an object function in a certain way? What do I need to know before I get started? And then you start the design. And at the same time, 3, 4, and 5 really go together. In music and manufacturing, you might be producing some sounds. You start putting them together and you say, oh, that doesn't sound good. You find a different keys or you find a different bass and you see if that sounds good. Same thing with manufacturing. You start with some materials and then you might say, oh, this isn't working. This isn't going together. This isn't functioning the way I want. This doesn't look the way I like it. And you might move to other materials. So step 3, 4, and 5, whether you're creating a song or whether you're creating a product, you often are going through those processes together. And then in step 6, you have assembly and construction. You have all your raw materials, you have your beats, you have your instruments, you have your materials, you have your process, and you actually start to assemble and construct. So you might be putting together those materials. Now you're arranging a piece of music, composing, putting together, writing out the notes in certain time signatures. And then you listen to it. You're debugging, maybe in coding, and in manufacturing, you're saying, oh, this didn't quite go together the way I wanted to. Let me make this little fix. In music, you say, oh, that note, I'm going to change that to a B to a C. It needs to be maybe higher pitch or lower pitch. So that's monitoring quality control. And finally, you're done. You have your song, you can distribute it, you can market it, let your friends listen to it, give them feedback. You have your product, you package it, and you send it out. So we wanted you to see that that music and manufacturing and engineering design and STEM really do go together. And that is what we're going to do today. We are going to create our song based on the manufacturing design process. And lucky for us, we also have a competition that you're going to be able to submit your song to. So you will have until January 31st. So today we'll get started, and then you can work in your own class. And you can win Amazon gift cards, headphones, and opportunities to maybe go see a music production studio at Georgia Tech. Your overall song requirement is going to be between 30 seconds and 2 minutes. Have 5 unique music tracks, a remix, meaning it must include music from one artist. When you run your code, it must run without errors. And we'll kind of put it together. We'll insert different sound clips using the manufacturing design process. And we'll also have include different functions to kind of really connect back to how you would design a product. So repetition and iteration. And we'll also include comments, so notes that could help other people create the same song. So teachers, as you're working with your students on this competition, we have different resources that you can use, a design sheet, a student guide, and template code, which we're going to be working with today. When you're ready to submit, you can click the submit button in Earsketch, which we'll show you today. And then you'll have to answer some short questions, submit your teacher's name, email, your parent's email, if they have it, or it can be your teacher's email, and then a short reflection. So it's time to code, and let's get started. So what I'd like you to do, if you are a student and are following along, you could type in, even if you're not in Earsketch yet, you can type in bit.ly/my-mscript1. And this is going to take you to the Earsketch platform. So I'm going to type this in the chat, and I'm going to leave this screen up here for about 2 minutes. And I'd like every student or teachers participating to be able to type in bit.ly/mym-script1. And this will take you directly to the Earsketch platform and open up a script that looks like this. You're not going to be able to type anything on this script yet, but you can click import to edit. But if you want to give us a minute, I just want to make sure everybody has the opportunity to type this in. So we'll all get back together in about a minute or so, and then I'll show you how to import the scripts. So I switched my screen to Earsketch. If you did not have the chance to still type it in, it is in the chat. And again, it's bit.ly/mym-script1. And your screen should look like this, only it might. I'm gonna just relog it because I was logged in. Only you're gonna see this import to edit on the side. What I'd like you to do is just click that import to edit, because this will actually put this script into your script library. So you can simply click import to edit, and then you will have access to that script. If you have used EarSketch before, you might already be logged in, so you don't need to do anything. If you have not used EarSketch, and this is your first time using EarSketch, I want you to click this Create Reset Account in the upper right-hand corner, and then click it again and click Register a New Account, and create a username and password. Your username should not be your first or last name. Think of it as your Code Your DJ name or your coding name or something that, you know, a music that you like. And then your password should be something that you can remember. So even if it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that is totally fine, because you really want to be able to log in and log out of EarSketch. So if you already have an EarSketch account, make sure you log in at this time. If you do not, we recommend that you create an account at this time. So I'll give everybody another minute or two to either create an account or log in. Teachers, feel free to drop in the chat if you need any additional time or if you have any questions. So after you've clicked import to edit and logged in, you should see your screen resembles my screen, or the screen that is projected in front of your teacher's classroom. We're going to give a quick tour of EarSketch, just so you have a little bit of background of what EarSketch is. So EarSketch is both a code editor and a digital audio workstation. A digital audio workstation is what many recording industry or recording studios use to mix music. We try to make EarSketch resemble the digital audio workstation, except that instead of just moving blocks or of sounds and stems, you're actually coding your own sounds and stems. On the left side of the EarSketch screen, you will see this Content Manager. This is where all of your sounds and beats in EarSketch exist. So when we spoke about in the manufacturing process, taking the raw materials, these are our raw materials of EarSketch. We have over 5,000 sounds from different artists, such as Alicia Keys, Pharrell, Richard Devine, Khalid, Milk and Sis, who are Latin Grammy Award winners, Sierra, Young Guru, who is Jay-Z's sound engineer. We have some indigenous drumming sounds from Samian and Jaylee Wolf and Dakota Bear. So there's all sorts of sounds here, your raw materials, that are from all different genres. So thinking of, you know, like metal and wood, we have genres such as country, dubstep, EDM, house, hip hop, Latin. So you can pick different sounds from artists across genres, different instruments. We have bass, drums, keyboard, piano, and you can even sort your sounds by key. So this gives you kind of all the characteristics of your sounds or all the characteristics of your materials. So if you're thinking of manufacturing, it's, you know, is something durable? Is it flammable? So these are kind of your details about your stems and sounds, and you can sort them by artist, by genre, by key, by instrument. If you want to add your own sound, you can even add your own sound in the Content Manager. You can upload a sound from the computer. So if you've recorded yourself, you can and save it on your computer, you can upload it, but you can also record directly into EarSketch. We also have an additional free sound library, which allows you to grab sounds that might not be instruments, but kind of these extra sounds. So, you know, if you were creating a scary song and you wanted a door creaking, you can find these sounds in if you're doing something on the manufacturing design process and maybe you want to have like an assembly line sound that is in your song, you can search for assembly line or machine. So there's all different ways to get your raw materials in EarSketch or get your sounds when you're composing your song. Next to sounds, we have scripts. If you've logged into EarSketch, this is where all of your code or your songs will save. So once we finish today, if you want to finish your song for Manufacture Your Music, you'll need to come over here to your scripts and open it back up. In addition, you could also download your samples in your scripts, and you can share it. So if you wanted to get a link to share it with a friend, you can even let others edit it. And also, this is where you'll find the submit to competition. So once you finish your script today or later this week or just anytime before January 31st, you could simply go on these 3 dark blue lines next to your script name and go to submit to competition, and then it will allow you to submit. The last icon on the content manager is an API. We'll talk a little more about this later. An API is called an application programming interface, and it basically tells you all the functions that you can use in EarSketch. So this means if you want to know how to code a certain beat or create a loop, you can come in here. It's kind of like the dictionary or glossary of terms of coding in EarSketch. I'm going to quickly close my content manager for a second and just scroll over here to the curriculum. This might be more for teachers or if you're working at home, but we have a full curriculum with videos that shows you how to remix music in EarSketch. For all of these, you can toggle them on and off. When I'm coding, I prefer to have them off just so I have a bigger screen. As I mentioned, up top, you have your digital audio workstation. That is where you're going to visually see your code, and this will resemble what most people would see in a music recording studio. You have your code editor down below. So on your code editor, we already gave you a sample code, the Manufacture Your Music. Anything that you see that is in brown and has what you guys probably call a hashtag or your teacher calls a £, those are called comments. And that means that the computer does not read those words. So when I put a hashtag or a comment sign in front of title of song, that's just a note for myself. So I can write anything here and it's not going to be in code. It's just going to be a note to myself or a note to another programmer. You often use comments to help organize your code to tell others more about it. So if you're not ready to title your song, that is okay. You can skip to step 1. I just wrote Manufacturing His Music to the Ears. If you want to title your song, you can. It doesn't have to be about manufacturing because again, we're going to use the manufacturing design process to create our song. Your song could be about anything that you would like. If you wanted to make it about winter, if you wanted to make it about the holidays, if you wanted to make it about the weather outside today, if you wanted to write it to a friend, whatever you want to make your song about. Step 1, develop your idea, design and conceptualization. So this is what you would do when you are developing a product. You create a vision. You know, what is the purpose of this product? What do you want it to do? Who is the audience? So, you know, are you creating it for kids? Are you creating it for adults? Are you creating it for college students? You know, who is going to use it? And then we added one, the mood, because in music, mood is very important. It sets the stage of the song. So again, you might not quite be ready to fully know what the vision of your song is. You know, is it to honor somebody? Is it, you know, a gift for the holidays for a family member or a friend? Is it, you know, beats that you want to dance to? You might not know your vision, and that is okay, but you can start to think about your vision. You might want to start thinking about your audience. Is it for your friends at school? Is it for your teacher? Is it to play over the morning announcements? Is it to play as a warm up at the basketball game? So who is your audience? Is it basketball fans? Is it students? Do you want your song to play during finals to keep people calm? And then what mood? Is it something to psych people up, or is it to keep you calm? Is it something to dance? Is it just beats you want to jam out to? What do you want your mood to be? So I'll give everybody about 2 minutes. And again, if you don't want to write all this in now, it is okay. But if you want to just maybe take a few notes and type this in, and you can type directly after the colon. So you can write whatever you'd like here. And again, if you want to wait until you have a better idea of what you want for your song, you can do that. Okay, and now we're moving to step 2, perform research, selecting our raw materials. So if you heard what I said, our raw materials are located in our content manager, and those are our sounds. So in this performing research and setting our raw materials, we are going to choose some sounds. We're going to listen to some sounds for our songs and choose some sounds, and we're also going to choose the tempo of our song. So we're going to jump down to line 13, and our first step is we're going to choose our tempo. Tempo is beats per minute, basically how fast or slow your song is going. So tempo in Ear Sketch, you can choose between 40 and 220. Most of the music you hear on your radio is probably between 80 and maybe 130, 140. Hip hop songs are generally about 80 to 95 tempo. 120 tempo is a marching beat, so a lot of faster pop songs. If you have EDM or house music, about 130, 140. If you have maybe pretty slow, calming jazz, you might have more of a 70 to 80 tempo. And again, this is simply beats per minute. So if you're thinking, you know, normally there's 60 seconds in a minute, so a beat per second would be 60. 2 beats per second is 120, which is, as we said, the marching pace. So think about your mood. You know, if you have an energizing, dancing mood, you want to psych people up, you might want a higher tempo. If you want to calm people down, you might want a lower tempo. Tempo will take a number. So it is a function in Ear Sketch that takes a number. So in this example, I want something kind of energizing. So I'm going to put kind of that marching beat, keeping students moving in the hallways during finals, getting them ready. So I'm going to put 120 in my set tempo. You can again choose any number between 40 and 220. So did everybody write their number in their tempo? If you have any questions, teachers, please feel free to unmute or drop in the chat. Okay, our next step, we said we're going to choose our select our raw materials, choose our sound variables. So I already gave you one example, is we chose a drum, and I can play the sound here. So what I'm going to have you do is actually highlight this drum, and we are going to delete it. And you are going to find your own drum by going to the instruments in your sounds. And you're going to, you can sort by drums, and then you can listen by clicking the green play button. And choosing a drum sound you like. Once you find a drum sound you like, you simply click the blue clipboard and it will paste it right next to your drum variable. So a variable, just like in math, in code, holds a value. So basically the drum variable, I wrote the word drum, I wrote the equal sign, and I'm putting a sound next to the word drum. The word drum is holding that sound, is holding that Alicia Keys, Underdog, Perk, Bongos. And why do we use variables? They create more efficient code. It's easier if I want to use this sound over and over again for me to write drum than for me to write AK, underscore, undog, underscore. So it creates simpler code, efficient code, it's neater. I can use that same value over and over again without having to write its long name. So if you think about the manufacturing process, you know, why we might have an assembly line doing the same task, is this idea of simplicity and efficiency. So I'm going to give everybody about a minute searching through the sounds and finding the drums. Once you have found your drum, we're going to go back to the same process and select some more raw materials. We're going to create our song with 4 different instruments. So the bass, keys, and vocals. So you can go back to your content manager, your instruments, click off drum, go to bass, and follow the same process. Again, just like manufacturing design process, we're doing repetition. Follow the same process. You can listen using the green triangle. If you like it, in case I'm in the wrong spot, you can go next to bass. If you like it, you can simply click the blue clipboard. So we'll take another 2 to 3 minutes for you to fill in bass. And then once you're done with bass, you're going to go to keyboard and then vocals. And we're going to have 4 raw materials, 4 sounds, 4 instruments that we're going to compose our song with. And if you want to pull a specific artist, you can go to the front one and find your artists.
That's that man. Guess you could say that.
And make sure each one of your sounds is next to the different variable, so you're not overlapping them. We'll give everybody about 1 more minute. Feel free to post any questions in the chat. Okay, if you haven't quite finished, that's okay. If you didn't choose a specific instrument, you can also just put a hashtag next to it so the computer won't read that code. Or if you only have 1 or 2 of the sounds, that's fine. We're going to move on just so we can finish our song, but again, you'll have time all week to keep coding. Okay, going to step 3, design the product. And remember how I said that step 3, 4, and 5 kind of go together, where we're adding comments for song structure. So just like we're designing the product, we're deciding how we're putting, different materials together or how they might work. And then we're prototyping and testing. We're seeing, do we like these instruments and the way we put it together and how they sound? So what you'll see below here is a design the product and a prototype and test. We've created a short song with 2 verses and a chorus. And if you think about how songs are structured, you might start with a verse, and then you have chorus, which repeats, and then you have another verse. So within these, we have a function called fit media. This is a function that is unique to EarSketch, and it tells the computer to play a specific sound on a specific track with a start and an end time. I like to say that if I were to tell you to bake a cake, you couldn't just go ahead and bake that cake. You would have to know what sort of ingredients you needed for the cake, what type of cake, how long you needed to bake it. And that's the same with fit media. It is a function telling the computer to play a sound but we need to have specific arguments or parameters that tell the computer what sound, where to play it, and when to play it. You might also notice that Fit Media has a capital N in the middle. This is camel case. And this is very important that when you write code in Python, that you make sure that your syntax is correct. And so this code would not work if the M is lowercase. So that will be one thing that when you debug and check for errors, that you want to make sure that all of your syntax is correct. So our Fit Media is going to tell us to play a sound. We've chosen our sounds, we've chosen our raw materials. So we're simply going to go up here and we can write drum because remember, drum is a variable. It's holding that sound. We don't have to write out the whole sound. So where it says sound right here, I'm just going to write drum. Track, just like I'm going to put 1. And in music, the way that we look at time is by measures. And so your tempo determines about how long your measure is. I have 120 tempo. So each of my 4 notes is going to be about 2 seconds long. So a lot of times music is played in sections of 4. So I'm going to actually put that my drum is going to play from measure 1 from the start of the song, comma, and it's going to play through the end of measure 4. And the reason I put 5 there is because the way your sketch reads this is that your sound is going to start at measure 1 and end at the start of measure 5. So your start measure is inclusive, your end measure is exclusive. So you basically subtract, I want this to play for 4 measures, 5 minus 1 is 4, and it will play for 4 measures. So I've coded my first sound. I'm going to do the same thing here with Fit Media. I'm going to put my bass now. I'm going to put this on track 2. They all have to be on different tracks because or else they would overlap. And because we know all songs don't start at the same time, we're going to start this on 2 and end on 5, or not all songs, all the instruments and sounds in the song don't start at the same time. Often you first start with one sound, it builds, it layers in. And then I'm going to go down here and do the same thing. I'm going to put my keys in. I'm going to put those on track number 3. I'm making sure I have commas in between all of my words. I'm going to start this on track on measure 2 and end it on measure 5. Now, I already realized I made a syntax mistake because I did not close my Fit Media with a parenthesis. So I want everybody to take 2 minutes to do their verse 1. For their sound, put in your drum, put in your bass, put in your keys, make sure you have your track, make sure you have your start and end measure, and then check your syntax. Make sure you have commas in between each argument or parameter. Make sure you close your parentheses at the end of each function. Once you have completed that, I would like to listen to it, but what we're going to do is, because I have also put in code for the chorus, the verse, and for some beats down here, we're going to put hashtags in all lines of code from line 34 through 56. Some of your hashtags are already there, but if you could just take a minute and make sure that everything from line 34 through 56 is kind of in this brown red color. That way it won't say that you have an error just because we haven't coded something yet. So I'm going to give everybody a minute just to kind of fill in their hashtags. So that way we can make sure that everything has, all the code that we're reading has been read. Okay, now we're gonna have the fun. Once you've hashtagged everything, you filled in your fit media, you have your drum, your bass, your keys, you can click run. And in the digital audio workstation, you should be able to see a visual representation of your code. Then you can click the green play button. Okay, I feel like that sounds pretty energizing. I have a good tempo going there. So that's my first verse. I might check back to see if it matches, you know, my vision, my audience, my mood. Just like we mentioned, you know, this idea of prototyping and testing. Does this sound good? Do I like, maybe the keys are too loud. Maybe I want to switch out the drum. So one of the easiest things, and this is why we create variables, is if you don't like a certain sound, you can just go up here and change your sound. Okay, if you like it, we can keep going. We can go to chorus. We can take out the hashtag. Maybe this is where we put in our vocals. We'll put this on track number 4. And since we're gonna have our chorus after our verse, I'm going to start it on measure 5, because remember the first measure is inclusive, and we'll play through measure 9. So I'll play 5, 6, 7, 8, and it'll be 4 full measures. I'll put back in my drum sound here. I'm gonna keep my drum going, I think the whole song. So I'll take off this hashtag, click drum, put this on track 5, and then start this. We'll do 5 to 9. I'll bring back in my keys here, but maybe I'm giving them a break. So I'm going to put them on track number 6, and then make sure my comma's in here. And we'll start that on number 6 and go to 9. And see, the fact that I already have my variables defined and I'm holding these values, it makes it really easy to code. Now, let's say I want to add another drum. I could just do like drum 1. So if I wanted to add a different drum in, I could easily just add it in, add a drum 1. And now I have some additional sounds that I could also include. Okay, I'll give you a minute to do your chorus, then we'll click run, and then we'll close things out for today. Once you click run, you should have a total of 6 tracks, and you can click play, and you've actually coded up to 16 seconds.
Guess you can say that I'm the man, but on that big boss level, and I put that on my. Guess you can say that I'm the man, but on that big boss level, and I put that on my.
Okay, so now I have 16 seconds of your song. If you don't like some of your, you know, maybe I want to switch out my vocals. Again, you can just come up here. I think my vocals were a little much, so I might come back here, switch out my vocals. Something. Maybe I'll just do something simple for my vocals. And again, this is just the iteration process. You're figuring out what you like. Once you finish that, you can continue this week and work on verse 2. Then it's assembly and construction. So in this case, I've put in on line 48 a for loop, which is going to loop a drum beat throughout your song. So for example, I added those second drums. So I might do drum 1. I'm going to put this on track 7. Making sure my commas are in. In this case, I've given the range of 1 and 5. So it's going to loop my drum beat at the start, which would be 1. And then I'm going to actually create a beat that I want to be looped. So I'll start that as well. So what I'm doing here, and we can go into this deeper in the curriculum, is I'm creating a string. And this would allow me to loop a drum beat throughout the song. Then step 7 is monitor quality control. So for example, I mentioned, if I forget to put a parentheses here and I click run, it will tell me that there is an error with the syntax and arrangement, a bad input on line 37. And then I can come up here and check it. And it actually says 37, but the real reason is because I never closed out line 36. Oops, I have an overlap here on line set on 7. That's it. And I can hit play then. So that is 11 o'clock. We've come to the end of our Manufacture Your Music. And what I'd love to do, if there's any questions, please let us know. I will share the PowerPoint in the chat so you can review the PowerPoint and go over it. It gives step-by-step instructions of what we worked on. And hopefully you can continue to work on your Manufacture Your Music, going through the manufacturing design process and submitting to our competition. So again, the PowerPoint will show you everything that you need to know about your sketch, the same kind of tour that we took. It will go over Fit Media. It will show you how to enter your Fit Media into your code editor, how to run your code, how to find different sounds that you like. You can also add special effects in your sketch. You can upload your own sounds, which I showed you earlier, and we did make beat and loops. You can even change the tempo. You can increase the tempo. You can decrease the tempo. And we also encourage you to continue to join us and for CS Education Week with EarSketch. Today there's an on-demand session. There's also an afternoon session about our other competition, Radical Remix. Tomorrow we'll have a virtual challenge for Beat Ad Libs. On Wednesday, we'll have a bilingual decodable ritmos and beats from 10 to 11. We'll also have a student-centered computing hour of code. On Thursday, we'll have another virtual challenge, and Friday we finish off with our winter jingle, bells, loops, and drums. Thank you so much for joining. If there's any questions, please post them in the chat. If not, hopefully we'll see you